Welcome to the Outside the Business Boxes podcast, where we're talking about how to ignite your business today for the future using systems for everything you do in your business to make your life, your employees' lives, and your customers' lives easier for you to ultimately enjoy your business and, of course, make more money. I'm your host, Chad Murray. Hey, thanks for coming back to Outside the Business Box podcast. I am Chad Murray, your host that knows the most, that we're going to sit here today. Today we have a guest, Mike Fasy. Hey, Mike.
What's up, Chad?
So we're just going to talk. And so I've been trying to get Mike on this podcast for 2 years. He's not a big guy that wants to go on podcast, which I can understand. And so, but let's learn a little bit about Mike. And then we're just going to watch and kind of just see what, kind of what me and Mike do on a weekly basis with each other. So Mike, tell us your story.
All right. Well, first of all, I always look forward to talking to you. I think you're hilarious and I always learn something. And I don't know how you roped me into doing this, but but you did. You got me to promise somehow.
I did.
So yeah, I'm a next generation, second generation chimney sweep, but in my head, it's a next generation, right? I'm kind of like learning what everybody else has done and making my improvements on it. I'm in California, in Sacramento, and yeah, the last couple of years I've been scaling this company. We're not 100% chimneys. We're about 33% chimneys, 33% window screens, and another third we do security doors. And then we also branched off into opening up our sheet metal shop. And you were instrumental in that. You let us into your whole operation. I had known you for a little while at that point, and that's when it like clicked in my head that you were just like the most solid guy. I was using you as a coach. You let me come in, go through like everything, every little part of your business, even though you're training me to be like sort of in competition with you. I'm like, oh, this guy has my back and he's super solid. So
it's really funny you say that. And by the way, everybody, this is totally unscripted. We just hit the record button, so I didn't ask him to say that. That was straight from his heart. You'll find out between Mike and I mean, we truly are into this industry, and who we're doing and what we do to help people is genuine, and it is from our heart. I mean, Mike's the exact same way. I can tell everybody right now, I don't charge Mike anymore. It's not a secret to me or anyone else. I learned as much from Mike as he'd ever learned from me. And so, yes, I've been helping him scale his business, but he's also flipped around, and we discuss in our meetings my shit too. But I mean, it helps us both out, doesn't it? I mean, no matter where we're going and what we're talking about, it all comes around. Whatever happens to me will happen to you. You happens to me, and we just learn how to handle it. And we're just, let's just face it. You're one of my best friends, and I love you.
I love you too, Chad. Same, man.
And so, here we are. I mean, it's funny, we have this, and I'm not going to make this go off into a stoner commercial, but let's face it. I mean, he kind of, that I know of, started the trend to just, helping people so much that I'm sure there's other guys out there that did it, but I mean, he's the most, out there guy out there. And you visited him, essentially introduced me to him, or at least made the huge suggestion to do it. And then me and, Stoner became, real close as well, and I mean, like Stoner talks all the time, but, that he doesn't even look at his competition as competition. They're all friends, and they'll help each other out. I mean,
well, you know what he did? I mean, that's what's that guy who talks about finite versus infinite? Cynic, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. The pie was like this big before Stoner, and Stoner credits Brewer, and then Stoner just made it like this, right? There's no competition. I mean, just pushing, even just take one thing that we were just talking about, the caps. I mean, the industry's different now. I mean, that from when I started, all the revenue was sweeping chimneys. It was how many chimneys can you sweep a day? That's how good you are, right? Yeah. That's how I was taught, and that's what I learned. And now maybe 20% of the revenue comes from sweeping, or less with some companies?
Probably less. the bigger you are, the less it is.
You know? Yeah. So he's expanding the pie. And, you know, what I think about you guys is that you are just so, well, you are like so wealthy in your knowledge about business because you've done all this stuff and your experience, what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So wealthy in experience. And now that you're in the industry, you're making all these connections. So, you know, when I run into an issue here, there, you usually have somebody. Or if I run into an issue, or if you run into an issue, I have somebody. Right. And Stoner, imagine what he's been doing for so long, right? He's wealthy in these relationships.
Yeah.
It's like balling in relationships.
Yeah, completely. And, you know, of course, he's helped me out with a lot of these other people that I've gotten to know in the industry very quickly. And, you know, I'm a fall in love type of guy until all of a sudden something happens that I'm not, you know, which, you know, occurs. But I mean, back to, you know, here we are. You know, you've been in business how long?
Right out of high school. I mean, I was always an entrepreneur. Yeah, so right out the gate, I started this business 2002.
Yeah,
that's how I remember it. So that's when I graduated.
You know, and I started in, you know, 97, 98 roughly. And so I think it was 90. I always get the BBB has it wrong, so it always confuses me. They have 96 on there, but I think it's 98. So I'm like 23 or 24 years, not 25 like I claim, but hey, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, when I think what a lot of people, you know, like when I'm talking to someone new or I'm at a convention or something, and maybe I am, maybe or not. And that's one of the reasons why I love doing my podcast is I'm not really well spoken at times. If you either get me or you don't, I think, you know, and I think a lot of times there's people in the industry that think they don't have any clue about me. You know, they've never heard my podcast. They've never really talked to me. And, you know, at times I may come across arrogant, you know, but that's not really what I'm about. I'm about trying to help people. And so are you. So this isn't about me. Here I am. It came back to me. I don't want it to be about me. It's about us. And so, I mean, but yes, I mean, so yeah, I mean, Mike does have his business is let's talk about what we've done in just the last 3 years. I mean, where we were, I mean, even 3 years ago, where were we? Where were you 3 years ago in this industry?
I was just barely getting into the, so I mean, from 2002 to 2000, I mean, until very, very recently, it was just a struggle fest. And for, I don't know why, I was just under this rock. I was living on my own island over here in California, not talking to anyone in the industry, not certified, just, and not learning, and, you know, not really reading books, not learning from anybody. Just, I don't know what I was doing, but it was very difficult.
Let's stop right there. Because I was stuck there too. I mean, I was there. I mean, I was still doing well enough to get my business up to 3.5, but I was really stuck with, I mean, I used to make this statement that I can't go anymore in this business. It was like common. I can't have that much more sales growth in Dallas. We're already number one. We're already at 40 plus people. This is back, you know, let's say 2017, 18, and 19. I've already made it. I'm already there. Are you kidding me? What I've done in the last 5 months has blown away what I did in almost all those years combined, meaning what the advancement that we've done. So I think the people listening to you, if you're a smaller company and you're listening for number one, you've already done more than what me and Mike did because you're listening to a podcast. You know, I had heavenly earth of any kind of education other than CCP, you know, and quite frankly, it was take the test, show up to the expos. That was really all that CCP had to offer. And or at least that I took part of. Maybe they had more stuff. I don't know. I wasn't aware of anything. And so that's all I did. So I mean, I literally kept my head down. I would go to shows. I don't know how many shows you went to, but I mean, I've been to Portland. I've been to a lot of these other shows that were out there, you know, in the teens and a couple back in the aughts, you know, but it would be like my wife and I would go and we'd kind of run around really quick. And maybe there was something that we wanted to do. And then we'd just go party. You know, we didn't really do anything.
Yeah, I barely just started a couple of years ago. Like it's all brand new to me. And from that perspective, it's like, holy shit. And then looking at what you guys do and the content you put out and the things that you know, some of it you charge for, obviously, and you should. That doesn't have to be there, in my opinion. It's like, I appreciate it so much because you guys can easily like not have existed to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And yeah, just what it's done to my business. Yeah, it's, well, I really appreciate it.
I think the point that we're trying to get to here is there was an aha moment, whether it was an actual moment or it was a gradual thing a couple of years ago. For me, it was an aha moment, and all of a sudden, I just came out to the industry. You know, you've been a lot more subtle in coming through. I mean, here you are doing your first podcast. You know, but I mean, you did do Surefire with Mark, you know, a few months back. You know, but you're a very good business person, and I don't think people understand that about. I mean, you have how many employees do you have?
Oh, well, we scaled back a little bit, but like 50.
Yeah. So he's got 50, you know, and of course you're a screen and chimney business. So, I mean, and like you said, you're 30, 35.
It's really like I'm running 3 different businesses.
Yeah. It's like, right. All under one roof and doing it with the same people. So, I mean, there's something to be said with that. And really, when you look at stuff, and you cross-train some of these guys too.
We used to cross-train everybody. What a nightmare. Like, see, I never knew. For us, it was just, we get calls for the chimneys, you know, in the winter, we get calls for screens in the summer. So it's just natural to flip everybody back and forth.
Right.
And then I'm learning about the industry, and the other people are just chimney guys. They have no other choice. They're like, oh yeah, forward scheduling and keeping everybody going year round. And I'm like, oh, that's a thing. And then we put so much effort. I mean, you know what we did this year. We bought a building that was huge for us.
Yeah.
Huge building, 24,000 square feet. So, and instead of, we didn't have time this year for what we wanted to do to train by osmosis, like how we've always done it before, just throw a guy in a truck and have him learn, right? We didn't have time for that. And so we hired in bulk. Kudos to our recruiting team. Shannon and Angelica killed it. You know, so we had guys going through this, you know, Mike's Chimney University in our warehouse. We bought the building, got in, built a masonry chimney, put a prefab up. We got, you know, I mean, that's most of it right there.
Right.
And but yeah, I got a bunch of videos and developed a whole program for them. And you know, we didn't know if it was going to work, but it ended up working way better than what we had going before. Just sit in the truck and you kind of learn a little bit here and there. No, they learned way better this way. And now that I know all the resources in the industry, we had a bunch of guys out: Steve Scally, Jim Brewer, Alan Rush. You know, big thanks to those guys. Right. To fly all the way out here to California. So,
well, you know, like the last 5 podcasts have been, well, at least 3 have been all about what you just said, you know, and by the way, that was what got you on this podcast. For some reason, I if you recall, you said I took full credit for something that me and you were working on. Remember? You call it. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, but no, Mike and I mean, on our own have worked together. We plan on working even more here this year on coming out with an actual defined training process. Now, this encompasses Surefire and other things. So this is, you know, I mean, Surefire is awesome. Well, but let's just face it. When you deal with Surefire, and even though they can give you Mark's program, there's still something missing, right? There's still something missing to like give a trainee, an apprentice, something to go through to when they're done at a certain point, you know, they know the stuff. And just by taking the quizzes and going through Surefire, it's just missing something. And me and you have been kind of like, I mean, if we would be doing this if Surefire had it, right?
Well, I don't think it's meant to be all encompassing and all.
Right. Right. It's a chimney training informational process. But what we're trying to do is develop a culturally related chimney industry person that when he comes through the training, in my case, he will be ready to be certified. He will know how to sell. He'll be using my tactics, some of Alan's tactics. He'll be whatever I've come up with 25 years of how I've done it, and then put it down and done it. Now, what part of my thing that I showed you last week on Connect Team is I'm actually having them record back some stuff that they're supposed to memorize and sell it to me. Of course, we don't, this drives me crazy. And I was actually doing the selling thing, how we don't sell in this industry. That's bullshit. We totally sell there, but there is that thing to be said, how we have to present and make it relevant to the people, to their wants and needs. And then there is some salesman to it. Matter of fact, Alan just put out did you see that questionnaire he asked yesterday? And it was a nice thing. He was asking people what he could do for whatever, to make something better. And we had a nice little comment. I said, I want to have it defined what an it person is. Because let's face it, you can take two different people. And let's just say you take a guy that's been with you 5 years, who's been installing, you got him certified, and he knows a shit ton of stuff about chimneys, but he doesn't have the it in sales. He just doesn't. Then you take a new guy after 3 months who's got it and give him the same limited information, but got through it, and the guy can sell $80,000 worth of stuff in a week. So I'm sorry, I don't care anyone out there who's, the process that Mike and I, or at least I am, and I think Mike is too, developing, hopefully we'll be putting them all together, is the process to get your guy to know how to sell $80,000 worth of stuff for us. One guy. Now, that's right.
It's just like lazy to say sales. You're not selling anything if you're not helping customers. People aren't buying junk, right?
Right.
You have to, you're selling them stuff that they need. So
it is, but you also the reason I define it as it, because let's just face it, it's just like the waiter thing. You go out to a restaurant and some guy just blows you away, does great thing, talks to you, gets you laughing, he's serving you tip the guy 30%, right? Otherwise, you have some other guy shows up and just gives you your drinks, you're waiting a little extra for the beer, never says anything funny or anything else, you tip that guy 15%. It's the same thing in chimney sweeping, inspecting. People don't get that. I think a lot of my clients, they don't get it. It's like they're so happy, and I actually said this, I think, in last week's podcast, they're so comfortable with what they have, and they're so busy in their own business that they can't see the fact that if they just trained one guy the way I have trained a guy this year and committed to that, their business would double. And then they could really get on the ball and really do some stuff. And I'm not saying my way's awesome. Well, yes, I am. Yes, I am. It is awesome. I mean, let's face it. I shouted out last week. I'll shout it out again now. I've got Cody and Marty selling, got almost 2,000 SPO. I mean, over 50% ratio in closing. Okay. I mean, Marty and Cody both in the last 3 months have had 1 week over $80,000, and they never sell less than 50 in a week. I mean, very rarely. I mean, and so, and they're using the inspection reports, they're using KickServe, all that. So I just, anyway, I didn't want to get on that rant, but yes, but Mike is also developed his own, he did his own training, and we're still, we're fixing it, right? It's still not where we want it. It's an ever-going process.
I mean, that's most things in business. It should be living process, living documents, but yeah, we barely threw it together right before it needed to happen. Exactly. And it still worked way better than what we had before, but there's a lot of room for improvement. And
totally.
Yeah. So,
something I think we both of us have in common is we both have a general manager. and I think a lot of people need that are getting on the cuffs of getting $2 to $3 million. When did you get your general manager? When did you get Mike?
Yeah, maybe 1.5, 2 million, something like that. And I love the book Traction. I know a lot of people, it's very familiar in the industry, but they really go through that integrator visionary relationship. And as goofy as it is to call yourself a visionary, but yeah, I was like, oh, that is me, like, and I need to find an integrator. And I did a bunch of interviews and kind of got lucky with Michael Rice. And we're very like super different people.
Right.
Yeah, and he is that exact person to a T, that integrator. And I'm a visionary. I mean, I can do what he does. It's just like painful for me. So, and like we were going through compliance stuff, like listening to lawyers, like we had a 2-hour meeting, and I just glaze over after 15 minutes, and I'm honestly like doing other stuff off my computer. People can't see me.
Yeah.
I'm not even paying attention. And afterwards, I'm like, man, I hope you got some of that. It's like, yeah, actually, I really enjoyed that. That was fun for me.
Yeah, no way. Yeah.
I'm like ready to stab my eyes out or something. Like that was awful. And so that's also like those relationships are super important throughout business, throughout life. Like that's what the government is. You have the right and the left, and they put them against each other. If you let the right do everything that run away with it, everything goes to hell. If you let the left run away with it, well, we're kind of seeing some of that, right? So and then that's also kind of our relationship, and that's what I was commenting on before is I was bringing these things up to you, and I bring up a lot of stuff, and you would be kind of the devil's advocate, and you'd push back, and we'd kind of like fight about it. And then 6 months later, you would be doing the things that we were talking about. What was that whole,
Okay, we're talking about branding. So it was a big thing. Mike and I told him not to rebrand, right? And I don't like what he's doing on the rebranding thing, and it's probably necessary or whatever. And the funny thing is, as we're talking about it, it's exactly what I fucking did all year was rebranded my company.
Oh, no.
I just never defined it. It's like when you're talking about Traction. I'm this closeted, just does everything accidentally wrong, and then it becomes right. And then there's a fucking book on it that someone wrote, and I did it. It's like true. Traction. I got bored to death with Traction. I can't lie. I only read half of it because I've done it all. Maybe I need to get to the second half, but it's like I've done all this shit wrong, right, and got to the right spot. And that's exactly, and then we came over to the branding. It's like, yeah, I guess we did change our name, Master Services Masonry.
Okay. The branding thing, though, this is one of them, because there's been a bunch of them, right? And you're doing the right thing. That is what our relationship should be.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
And then you want to set those up in the other parts of your business. You want to set up people battling it out to get to the best, right? And hopefully that's like, your marriage and stuff like that too. So, okay, there's some predictions that I have. I want this on the podcast.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. The industry is going to start doing professional branding logo truck wraps. There's this company, Kickcharge. I think they're the best out there, and I think you're going to start seeing more and more companies use them. I think you're going to see at least a couple in the next year, and it's super obvious when you see one of their truck wraps. That's one of the things. The other thing is Story Brand. Did we talk about this, Evan?
Oh yeah, of course.
You kind of know what it is?
Yeah, we talked about it last week.
Oh, okay. So I think you're going to see more and more of that, right? It's in your website, but then also it's going to start to be in your recruiting. Then it's going to start to be just ingrained in you and how you talk to people, and then you're going to train your educators on it. Like what?
You know what I did this weekend on Connect Team?
What?
I added day one a full section on about us, about Master's Chimney and our story, and I made sure that everyone knows Master's story. I mean, I've been doing it kind of a little bit. You know, I did those recordings of me and my wife, and then John and I, right? So I mean, very limited. Well, I then made a whole 3-hour process of day one of they have to go through the website, and I tell them my story on how I started. So it's like day one, they got a wealth of information of who I am. But I've been telling customers, I mean, it's on our website about what we are, but you're right. Story brand is a better way to get rapport and easier yeses.
Can I show a video? I found like a 2-minute video on it.
Hit it.
Oh, you gotta.
I did. I just did. Yeah. Hey, everybody, while he's looking at this, by the way, Bare Hands Pro, it's your life work, Mike's life's work to get you the chimney inspection program that you can use. It's going to up your game. If you listen to me the last 2 podcasts, you're going to see that one of my clients wasn't using them. And then all of a sudden he started using them, and he actually did just score another, even after last week, 2 big jobs just by using Bare Hands Pro. Bare Hands Pro, made by Chimney Sweeps for Chimney Sweeps.
Thanks, Chad.
You're welcome.
All right, I think this is the right spot.
To a real life scenario.
I'm good at pitch man.
Let's say,
What's that?
I said I should be a pitch man. When I'm on, I am on. And so
Yeah, pretty good.
your product. So all this sounds really complicated, but let me just give you a real life scenario. Let's say you're at a cocktail party, Patrick, and you meet 2 people who have the exact same job, do the exact same thing, run the exact same kind of company, charge the exact same price, and deliver the exact same quality. You go up to one of them and you say, hey, you know, nice to meet you. What do you do? And they say, well, I'm an at-home chef. And you say, okay, well, where'd you learn to cook? Or what are your favorite restaurants in town? Have you ever cooked for anybody famous, anybody I know? You're going to start making conversation. They did not invite you into a story.
Right.
They just told you what they did. So you go to the second person, they do the exact same thing. You say, hey, what do you do for a living? And they say, well, you know how most families don't eat together anymore? And when they do, they don't eat healthy. I'm an at-home chef. I come into your house, I cook you a great meal so that your family can spend a beautiful bit of time together, bond with each other, and not feel guilty about the food they ate. You don't have any questions about where they went to school. You're saying, are you available tomorrow to come to my house and let me pay you? Why? What did they do? They position themselves as the guide in the story, helping the hero have a climactic scene of sitting with their family. They identified a problem that we're not eating together anymore. What we do, we don't eat healthy. They identified a failure that you're by inference, you're going to keep eating unhealthy and not spending any time with your family if you don't hire me, right? They could have ended it by saying, it's actually an easy process to hire me. I just come over, we assess what your family looks like. I make a custom meal plan, and if you want, I'll show up once a week to cook dinner for you guys, and there'll be enough leftovers for a few meals in the rest of the week. I've got time Thursday if you want me to swing by. You throw some baby steps in there, you're going to close the deal every time.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's an elevator pitch with the close.
It's a whole system. It's a story. It's a broken down archetypical story that people hear everywhere. It's what makes people pay attention. Like, people are constantly daydreaming and thinking of other things, right? But when people are watching a movie, they're like watching a movie because they're invested in this story that they already know. There's like 7 archetypical stories that make up every movie ever. So the downside of learning this stuff is that if you go to watch a movie, you know what's going to happen next. You know what the ending's going to be. But you make a mini, landing page, web page that walks people through the story brand, and it's so obvious to them. What story brand?
I've been reading this on Audible now since I was in the hospital, but I'm only halfway through it, but I bought this when I was in the hospital in September on Audible. And is that the, I don't know. I don't know the face because I don't know, but is it? I can't even. You go.
Yeah, that's the same
Is that
one.
him? Is that him still?
Yeah.
Yep, that's him. Donald Miller.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
All right. Those are my predictions.
I think it's you know what? Well, I mean, once you do it, I do it. Some of other people that we know start doing it, and they start seeing the success of it. I think that's an easy one to do. I think a lot of people are. I mean, the branding thing. I don't know. I mean, everyone. Well, I say it like this because you got a lot of guys out there, that are hard headed and they like what they got and whatever. Me and you are similar. We hated what we had.
Well, a lot of guys like what they have because they made it. It's theirs.
Right.
But they're an expert they're a chimney expert, right? I never started as a chimney expert. I knew chimneys a little bit. I was like, I'm a business person.
Right.
I'm trying to be a business expert. But yeah, they're
did you know that back when you first started?
Oh yeah, day one. So what was that, E-Myth or whatever? I didn't follow that path like
that. My mom tells a story, and it's going to be in my book, that she always, like, my brother went to college, became a laser robotics physicist. That's my younger brother, Justin. Okay. Still worries about him, what he's going to do with his life, even though he's doing great. Me, she knew as soon as I dropped out of college, went in the Marine Corps after I'd already been in the Army National Guard, just knew. And then when I got out of the Marine Corps really quick, after I was only in there for a few months, she's like, I never worried about you, Chad. I always knew you were going to make it. I just knew it. And she tells that story to people and talks about it, all the time. And it's just like, I knew it, but I didn't have the vessel to do it. And that's what Chimneys allowed me to have. It was the vessel to get me to the point of not running the company back in 2014 when I handed it over to John, my general manager. And so what I've done since has just been it may have been Cody. I don't remember who. Someone just put out a post on Facebook about passion versus did you read that? Did you see that?
Oh, I believe that was Cody, yeah.
Yeah, and then Stoner went in there and put, his great new businesses. And I've been thinking, I just saw it this morning or maybe yesterday. And I've been thinking about that. I mean, my passion is 1,000,000,000% to help people. And I, of course, I have started, the coaching business and now the software business with Stoner and my brother. But I really, I don't know if I 100% believe that I've even found it yet. So I don't know, that sounds weird because I absolutely love helping people. What I get out of it from helping people is I'm a lot less cranky than I used to be. And maybe people don't realize it, but if you know my family, I'm a pretty fucking cranky person. You don't really notice that, but I'm kind of a frowny type of person until I'm around people, and then I kind of turn on. I'm just kind of fropey, I guess, frumpy, whatever. I mean, but all of a sudden when I'm around people, it's like, I love the spotlight, but I love more than the spotlight of watching, like on Surefire at the one right before Christmas. I had 2 clients on Surefire say they appreciated me on Surefire. Like they typed it out and then Mark read it. That came out of left field. I could not believe that these 2 clients, no one even knew that I was even coaching them. And then they said that. And I was like, that, I mean, not that I got put up on a pedestal there, but that was the best Christmas gift I got this year. And I got some pretty cool shit this year too. And so that was the best Christmas present I got, was that affirmation that what I'm trying to help people do is working. That was just, but I still back to to whatever. I don't know if I'm there yet of what I've really found. I think I want to help more people. I think that's why I'm dissatisfied. I'm less than 20 clients right now, plus my whatever. And I don't like the way I'm coaching people exactly right now, just my time for their time. So I'm not really sure. And I do have a kind of a story, and I'm going to wrap this back up to story brand. With the coaching business, I absolutely have a story. And everyone knows it. And I've talked about it, you know, and I use that. And I love the fact you brought that up with our chimney industry, because the way that little video went down, and of course, you know, the guy just flows right through of getting you the information, a want, a need, and then a close, you know, with all that that happened in that thing. And you're right, a lot of chimney companies probably don't do that. You know, one of the things that, you know, is about the story brand thing, I think a lot of the guys are happy and content where they're at, which is not what me and you have ever been. Stoner has ever been, you know, and whoever else I could probably think about, whoever, you know, some of the bigger companies have never been. So there's a divide, I think, in what me, you, and other guys are doing in the industry of what a lot of these other guys are satisfied with it. And I'm not saying they're wrong. They're satisfied with what they're doing. There's nothing wrong with that. But I guess as you look at it, and as we move into the 2022 in the future, I mean, I want to help people build their business, and I want to help people be bigger than me. You know, I want that to occur. You know, one of the things, okay, so you want to hear one of my, it won't happen in 2022, but when we talk about story brand a little bit, I, you know, Mark and I, my brother, are building this software program called Service Galaxy. And you're part of Service Titan. So you see all the Service Titan, you know, their story brand, their, you know, they have conferences. I want that. I want that with my brand that we're going to build. And not because we do a good marketing thing. I think that's kind of more of what Service Titan is. And maybe people, it does help their business when they get to know it. But I want it because they just absolutely love the program. They love what we've done. They love what we're continue to doing. And I want to be on stage one day, whether it be 5 years, 10 years, 3 years, of having a full conference room of, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 people that are all geeked out in galaxy alien stuff, and they love Service Galaxy. You know what I mean? Like, I want that. I think that in my life is what I want. Jesus Christ, here we are back to all me. We're here having Mike Fasy on, and it's back about me. So anyway,
well, I can see that. I can see that happening. That's a good goal. I like that.
Thank you. And so, but guys, so on a weekly basis, we'll just get into this. So Mike and I, we meet, and there's no hierarchy to this friendship whatsoever. You know, if he needs something, I'll give him my spin. If I need something, he gives his spin. And so it's an interesting thing. I don't know if I've ever talked to anybody about it. I know I've told you a little bit about this, but and I know a couple of people have mentioned this to me. When you meet Mike at times and he's in business mode, he will laser Superman right through you. He does. You do. I was scared to death of you the day I met you.
Oh my God.
I was. And then you called me back, like when you were, so after the roundtable we did, you and one other guy, or I think you and Tom both came up to me and were just asking me questions, right? And you were so in it, like so intense and so asking me questions. And it's like, dude, this, and you scared me because of your intensity and your involvement and what you're so into what you were saying. And it's like, I felt like, I actually felt like a dummy. I'm like, I don't know how to answer this guy intelligently, you know. That was the fact. And so, but I'm telling you guys, if you meet Mike out there, he's a teddy bear, man. He's the smartest guy in the world, man. He's such a teddy bear.
I'm gonna start wearing sunglasses inside.
Huh?
I'm gonna start wearing sunglasses inside.
No, you're awesome. No, you're the sweetest guy ever. That's why I'm saying, when you're in it, though. When you're talking business, I mean, You get in there. So
I get that feedback. Which is actually one of my things that if this was a normal week, us talking, that's one of the things I was going to ask you is, how do you get critical feedback? Because I'm running into, you had a really great suggestion that helped our business a lot. It was the anonymous employee surveys, right? Which is fucking terrifying.
Yep.
And so you put it out there, you're like, what do you think about this manager, that manager? What would you do with the business if you could? What do you think we're doing wrong? What inefficiencies in your job do you see? Stuff like that. And then you get feedback about yourself. And it can be brutal. Like that first time I was like, oh my God, I don't know what's gonna happen. And but that's what you want. Like you want that feedback. And so we just did another round and got feedback on a bunch of stuff. But the stuff on me was like all positive, which seems great. I mean, makes you feel a little bit good, right? But that's not how to improve. Like, I need the critical feedback. So
yeah, but you're at a level in your business to where these people don't really know you, right? Like you don't spend the day to day with these people really, right?
True.
So I mean, how can you're not the one chewing their ass out. Or if you are, it's because they did something big. But I mean, you're not in the day to day. So they only know you as the boss and see you when you throw the party, right? And so if you want to get critical, you got to ask the critical questions. I mean, think about it. You've got to point blank ask them.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was getting at in my head, but just because it didn't work this time around, I'm like, oh, I didn't get the feedback that I need. I don't have any, there's nothing I can do with that information.
Well, I did it with another company. I'll just call them out. They won't give a shit. The New York guys, they did a survey, which they're such a funny company, the way they are.
I love them. I love
them. And so they did a real softball one at first. I mean, it was because they were scared to death too. Just softball questions, nothing big, and they got pissed. They got what they deserved. They got a shitty survey. Everything was kumbaya, which of course, it's no business is that way, and so, and the questions you want to ask, they weren't getting the right answers to. So Sherwood calls me up and goes, "This is terrible." And we're according to this thing, we're great. And I know these, and I said, okay, well, why don't you ask them the right questions then? Ask them the real questions. Like, what do you think of Bob's management style? Do you think he comes down harder? Or is he ever critical of you that you thought you deserved it? And we came up with a whole new one. And boy, they learned. They learned.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest with you. I had never done a very critical one until after you did. I've done them. I did them, but I didn't go critical until I saw yours. And then we did it when we did that next one.
Yeah.
And then I did it. And yeah, I had some stuff.
Okay, let me have Mike do this first and see how it goes.
Well, I had done some softball ones, but I mean, well, here's the thing. When it came down to the coaching and learning how to do these and all this kind of stuff and the thoughts of it, I would always kind of do my surveys and talk to people in the meetings and not do it anonymously. And I would get it out of people like, what am I doing wrong? What can I do? And I used to do that all the time when I ran the company. And I got to say, once I left the operations side of the company, we only did a survey every 2-3 years because John didn't even give a shit. It's like, I'm doing it. I'm getting this, we don't have a huge turnover, but when we did it last, year and a half ago, whatever, we sat there and wrote down some hard questions and got some great answers. I mean, and then when we came to the meeting that we had last summer, I've told the story on the podcast before, but during a break, now I did the meeting. I went up and I did the show, man. I was on that day. This is just going through all our stuff, pumping people up for getting certified and just everything I was doing, for that whole morning. So they braked, and John went out to the guys that were all smoking. As he walked out there, they were all talking about how they wish you'd see me more. And, and how they hated the fact that I had said, I run the company, I own the company, but I don't run it. And so they don't know me, and I don't know them. And it's like, it hurt me at the time that they even told me they said that, because I want to be part of it. Fact of the matter is, and then again, fast forward to this past summer when I got a bunch of good advice to say I should go back to the company more. And then COVID hit, and then here my company's on fire, doing great, still is. And it's like, I had a couple real hard lessons to think about and talk to my wife, talk to John and them. That's not me. I'm not them. I'm not the guy to go back and, like, you're at your company. You're sitting in your office at your company. I don't do that. I don't have an office at my company. And I don't run my company like that. And we are squeaking 4 million, which is, from what we did in June, it's $1 million more than what we were going to do come, August. So we did $1 million more than what we projected.
Well, I wasn't here in 2020, which was, we were at a level. I actually they had an intervention with me, because I told you about this, right?
Yeah.
They had an intervention with me, the managers, and they were like, basically wrote me a job description. Like, you need to be out of operations and you need to do your visionary stuff and blah, blah, blah. And it was like all like this, I could feel the tension when they presented this to me, right? It was like a super weird intervention. And I read this thing, and they're just, the looks on their faces, they were like terrified. I look up, I'm like, well, yeah, that's what I fucking hired you to do. Run the operation. Right. So there was a point in the business where I'm like, okay, I need to get out of this to let them assume those roles.
Right.
And so that was 2020, and that worked really well. If you're always there to babysit them, then they're not going to grow. So that worked perfect. And then I talked to our GM. I'm like, hey, what are your goals? What would you like to do with this? And he's like, I want to grow. I want to scale. And I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be one of those, 2021 is going to be one of those shit years. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to be available 24/7, and we're going to do this thing together. And that's pretty much what it was. It was a shit year. People get stuck. I think, yeah, it's so funny in our industry, businesses are so similar. They reach the struggle years and then plateau, easy, making money, struggle years, plateau. And yeah, 5 million is like, you just hit that ceiling, right? And it's like, no, we got to figure out how to blow through that. So yeah, this year was difficult, but we're setting up a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's sort of thing a lot of people don't get, or they get it and they don't want to do it. They're scared of it. They're scared of the difficult time. I'm not scared. Me and you proved in 2021, we ain't scared to lose money. Now, am I wrong? We blew through money to get training going and all that shit, and we did it. I mean, we did.
Yeah, the way that it happened, I mean, we like that was our plan, right? Going into 2021. It's like, okay, what do we need to scale? We need these mid-level managers in place and processes. And so we found these people, and then we spent months, kind of getting them into the business and learning and educating them. And that takes time. And we wanted to do it like, oh, this will be like a less painful way to do it.
Right.
But it was a more expensive way. And then, we weren't hiring technicians to match our office overhead. And for a little bit, I was kind of blaming it on the, what was out there. I was like, oh, that's just, people are getting paid not to work, COVID stuff, blah, blah, blah. I was like, what am I doing? I'm just making excuses. So, we put energy into recruiting, like looked at it and devoted time and energy to it, and it did a 180. It's like, oh, we have hundreds of applicants. Not that I did it. It was our team did it. And it's not just doing the same thing and expecting different results, right? It's like, we did a lot of this stuff together. Like, what I never really said, but it's like, you need to be disruptive. These people are looking through resumes from companies. They might look through 20, 30, 50 companies in a day. You want to stand out to them. The benefits first. You made the video, pictures. They want to get a feel for what it's like. And also, is your company a good company to work for?
Right.
Like, is it? You were big on the career paths, and I started writing those out. And then at some point I realized, because everyone keeps telling me, they're like, they'll come up to me after a meeting or whatever, after our tech meetings, and they'll say, yeah, man, I love being here. I really appreciate it. And, I've seen what you've been doing the last year or two, and, I'm just happy to be a part of it. And it's like, so I actually shelved that project because people have a career path. They see it just by what your company's doing. They're like, oh, this company is doubling in size in 2 years. There's obviously room to grow. Like, it's obvious. It's there. I don't need to write it down on a piece of paper. And they've seen all the other people around them go up into leadership roles.
Well, I don't think you shelved the career path. What you did is you now have to define how to get there, and that's what you're doing. Because that's what I'm doing. If I were to talk to somebody, it would be the same thing. I shelved it too, but I didn't. What I'm doing now is I'm creating the path. I built the roadmap, but I haven't put the blocks in the road down yet. Like, I showed you, or my company, this is what we're gonna do, and this is your career path. The problem was it was empty. It was an empty, every position, it was empty. It's like, well, okay, well, I see that I could be now an apprentice novice, an apprentice this, and then I can become a craftsman. Well, how do I get there? Like, just stay here long enough? No, you have to. Then what we're doing, we're creating these training paths. They'll then have a title at the end of it when they complete it, right? And so, which honestly is going to take a long time, but I'm so committed to this training, because I don't know if I told you this last week, but as soon as I get done with this training for the educators sweeps, if you don't follow me enough, sweeps, is I'm going to do one for the crews, and then a total training for the crews. Then I'm going to do one for the call center. Then I'm going to do one for my metal shop. And then I'm going to do one for the managers. Okay. And now all of that will be, the first phase of that will all be as if training. Like, you just got this position. Now here's how we're going to define your role. You're going to be trained to do this position. So then when I get the full cycle of that, now I go into the day-to-day training. Like, I'm now going to define 365 days a year that I want to do. That'll be a living document. Obviously, it'll change per year, but I'm going to define what we do in that era of the season that we're in, and then what they do. And I'm going to have that. And I do plan on doing, like, I have that career path. I'm going to do that 365 thing, and I'm going to start working on that in March to get that very outlined. So then, and it'll just be kind of an outline which just says, I'm going to do a weekly thing, 52 weeks. I'm going to say, this is what we did last year, this week, which I already know, we already have all these numbers, but I'm going to say, this is what we want to focus on. And then define that to the role of, all 4 of the positions, 5 positions I just talked about. And so when I'm done, hopefully maybe in 18 months, I've got a full, not just training, an operations juggernaut of how to run a chimney company. That's what I'm doing. And I am solely committed to that. And me and you've talked about, I didn't tell you that last part. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but that's the goal, right? I to do that. And I am the vision like you, and I fully embrace it. I hate fucking cleaning chimneys. There's nothing, I can't stand literally to sweep a chimney. I love laying brick. I love putting caps on. I love making caps. I love everything about except for cleaning a chimney. I hate it. I hate cleaning chimneys. It's just, ugh. And I just mean it's just something I just cannot stand that process to do it. But I love everything around it. And so, anyway.
Well, to go back to the money, yeah, both of us kind of did this. We burned through half of the year and we're just paying a lot in payroll. And we're essentially the same size company as we were the year before.
Right.
So then we started, we're like, we can figured out recruiting, hired guys in bulk, put them through the training program in bulk, and then fixed our office to tech ratio. But in doing that, we bet the farm. I mean, for the last 10 years, my internal motto is go big or go home. Right? Like, oh, I need to make a decision. Which should I do? Go big or go home? Okay.
All right.
Do not recommend that.
Yeah.
and now it's not anymore. It's like, I had this level in my head. I was like, I need to at least reach this level, and some things will even out. It's just my goal. It's like get there as fast as possible. And so now it's different. But yeah, I don't recommend that. And yeah, like basically bet the farm. That was brutal.
Well, did you see the owner talked about someone on the last thing? And I know who it is. I'm not going to call him out because I've met him too. I love this guy. It's a new guy in the industry that's wanting to build up to like 20 trucks as fast as he can. He's not well known yet at all because he's brand new, obviously. But this gentleman called and talked to me. Like he called me, and I don't know if I don't think he had talked to Stoner yet, probably just because Stoner didn't answer his phone, and then he got a hold of me. But he was asking me a ton of questions a few months back, and he asked me, or he's telling me the guy talks big too, and he's like, I'm going to be this and I'm going to be that, and at first I was taken back by it. At first, I don't think I showed my cards that I was feeling that way in the conversation in the beginning. But as I got to talk to the guy, I'm like, and then he asked me what after because I let him talk, believe it or not, for probably 10 minutes. And through that 10 minutes, by the end of that, on the 11th minute, when I finally said something, I was on this guy's page, man. I was like, hey, don't let anyone tell you not to do that. As long as you can do things safe and you're going to do the right thing for the chimney and you're not screwing people over, who cares? Have at it. Go get 20 trucks out there if you can do it.
If you have the right culture, and that goes a long, long way.
Yeah.
But just what I would say about that is scaling. How long? Say in our industry, a typical company scaling to 5 or 10 million, it takes X amount of years. If you condense that into 2 years, you're learning all of those. You're running into all those issues.
Yeah.
10 years worth of issues in 2 years. Like you hit them for sure. Right.
Need 3 of me to help you.
Yeah, we hit some of them. Yeah, this year for sure. That it was like it wasn't a problem at 5 million.
Right.
That's definitely a problem. So I would just say, just know that that's going to happen. And a lot of these companies that, that are, besides that you're coaching, or I don't know why I said that. I don't know what size companies you're coaching, but,
they're generally all smaller. They are
3 trucks, 5 trucks, and want to go bigger. Some of those issues that I know are, you want to think of your business in 3 different components for this. You want to think of it as the leads or lead generation, then your conversion. So lead generation would be like calls. You're getting calls.
Right.
Then conversion is the call center, and then production. And you didn't have to focus on those at all when you were less than 3 trucks, because you're probably in some area where there's not that much competition, or maybe there is, and your phone rings off. It's not that hard to fill the schedule. But you look at Linman's or Ashbusters or you, then it starts getting different. You start, hey, we can't pull the schedule. So then you need to know, where your leads are coming from, how they track throughout the year. It blows me away that companies don't track this. I do not understand how, but yeah, we know how many incoming phone calls there are a day. We know exactly what's going to happen this week, next year, as we're growing. Like obviously every year we get more and more phone calls. And you can plan ahead, like how do you know how many CSRs to add? You're just adding them at a whim. Obviously you want to be able to plan ahead and do your recruiting, way in advance. When do you need a truck on the road? Like you and I, a lot of other companies, they spend 6 months or a year getting a guy ready to go on the road, which great, but you need to be planning 6 months or a year in advance. How do you do that if you don't know your leads and conversions? Right.
I've kept the calendar since my first week. 25 years, 23, 4, however many years ago. We have the calendar still. I can tell you how many appointments I don't have how many times the phone rang because there's too much bullshit that comes in, but we do have how many appointments we made in Dallas, Houston, and Oklahoma City. I can show you that from 1998. And it's on a calendars, and that eventually the calendars got bigger, and we have them all still in the office back behind Gina, and they're all there. And then we've converted the last 5 years on into our software, so now we can see the last 5 years where I don't have to go ask to pull a calendar. I can now do it. And we also on that so here's what we do even then. So even on that day we actually put the weather as well, because if it was snowy, rainy, or whatever, it would explain whatever might have happened. And so that we started doing the weather probably 10 years ago, and it was just something cool to look back at. And I can tell you exactly how many appointments I'm going to do this week, next week, whenever. Generally,
Yeah.
I'll be within 5 every time. And so
yeah. So I've been thinking about that a lot. Well, we track everything. So what gets measured gets managed.
Right.
So,
guys, this is part 1 of another one. I will rope it in here because, quite frankly, I smell the pork chops, and my wife's about to poke in because it's almost 7:00 p.m. my time here, and that's about all, guys. That's the brilliant Mike Fasy. And so he will be on again. I promise. I will drag him on here and we will talk again. Right, Mike?
Yeah, that'll happen.
It's painless. It was just like a normal, we just talking. So people want to hear this. Trust me. People need to hear me and you talk. I'm telling you, we're unique. We know what we're doing, and we don't do everything like everybody else. And what we do, even if it's like them, it may be a different way, and let's face it, in my eyes, it's a better way. And so and sometimes you can learn from maybe just we're yin and yang at times on things, but we learn and it makes it better. And it's so true how if everybody's always positive, you never find any negative, you're just not going to grow. And so that's kind of the point of why me and you work together. We have different opinions at times, and we get to a better place when we're done talking about them. So everybody, that is my time. And thanks for listening outside the business box. Don't forget your Bare Hands Pro. Don't forget to renew your Surefire. Remember Snap Lock. They are your tools made by Chimney Company as well. And then Alan Rush's Monday Morning Minutes. Get that because he's going to teach you how to sell, even though we don't sell. So, all right, guys, take care.